Welcome to Leadership in the Tarot. My name's Nicole, and I will be your guide on this journey. I'm so glad you've joined us. Let's get started. So to begin with, I'd like to start with what I'm reading this week, which is what has inspired this leadership topic. So this week I am rereading, for who knows how many time, The Art of Possibility by Rosamund Stone Zander and Benjamin Zander. And this book was one of the first books that I read in my leadership program and was a jumping off point for many of the transformations that I experienced. And one of my favorite chapters out of The Art of Possibility is rule number 6, which is don't take yourself so goddamn seriously. And I think about this rule as being so important when we are talking about the theme for the week, which is tapping into our inner child and finding play. And so this week's card is actually the 6 of Cups. So the 6 of Cups, one part of reading the tarot is being able to look at the art and make sense of what is being shared with us, what we are being invited into. So in the 6 of Cups in this deck, you have 2 children and they have flowers, and this 6 of Cups is an invitation into tapping into our inner child, the innocence, the playfulness of the past, and looking back at past memories as ways to find inspiration and creativity. So when the 6 of Cups shows up, here we are being invited into looking back, into thinking about what were the invitations, what were the creativity spaces that I sat in, what are the things that as a child even brought me joy and happiness, maybe even looking back at our family and the relationships that we had there. And it can be positive things, and it can also be looking at some of the harder things that came up from our childhood, thinking about the past and healing some of the things that are from our past that need some attention. So this week, as we're talking about tapping into our inner child and finding more playfulness and what it brings for us as leaders, I think it's really important that we find joy and play in our work and in what we do. So how do we do that is a question. And the 6 of Cups invites us into this place of saying, when are times when I have felt joy? When I'm feeling joyful or playful, what is true about those moments? And I can situate that very specifically into my job, right? When are times in my job when I'm feeling really joyful and playful? And what is true about those moments? Or I can think about it in my life. Let's say my job is taking up a lot of space and I need to make more space for joy and play outside of my work. I can ask myself that question. What are things that I do that bring me joy, that allow me to feel creative, that really spark excitement and maybe even a little bit of silliness that I want to make more space for? So there's that one space of me and understanding myself, what brings me joy. So now let's go to the lens of, as leaders, let's say we're talking about leading teams. And we have a goal to try and create more joy and playfulness in our workspaces. Well, what can we do there? One approach that I really like to use in my facilitation, in my working with groups, is a process called appreciative inquiry. And what appreciative inquiry allows us to do is it allows us to go into the past. It allows us to say, what gave us life once upon a time? What inspired us? What really allowed us to be at our best? And so if we're talking about something like playfulness or joy, I can go to my team And I can ask them a question like, when was a time when you felt playful or joy at work? And we can take this time to really unpack what's happening in our jobs and in our workplaces that are bringing this joy. So here's the caveat that Six of Cups also invites us into, is that we can go back into the past and we can look at these stories, but the cautionary tale is don't get stuck there. So if I tell a story about a retreat that I went on or this one really great meeting that we had, the invitation here is not to say that, oh gosh, okay, to have joy and to have happiness and to have playfulness in the workplace, we have to replicate that retreat. We have to replicate that meeting exactly as it was. What it says is learn the lessons from the past. Look at the themes that are emerging. So, what made that meeting joyful and playful? What were the components of it that we would like to bring forth into our more of our work? What were the intentions that were set that allowed for that playfulness to happen? And again, when we're talking about teams and we start to listen to many stories, many narratives of what brought joy, we can start to actually identify themes that are coming up of like, okay, for this person, it was this meeting. I wonder what was true about that meeting. For this person, it was actually this project that they did that really brought them joy. And so we can start to see, wow, as a team, these are some of the things that are emerging. And also, as I'm leading you as an individual, perhaps I can look at these moments and really try to support you in recreating and manifesting more of those moments in your work. So again, the Six of Cups, it really is an invitation to go back into our work or go back into our lives and explore what were the things that brought me joy? What were the things that felt playful? When were times when I felt really creative and successful? And then how do I learn from that and bring that into my life now? Not getting stuck there, not feeling like, well, I'll never be playful or I'll never be joyful again if I can't have that exact moment. No. Really digging into what was true about that moment. What was I doing? What were other people doing? What was the setting? And starting to better understand some of these patterns that are coming out that really help us tap into that inner child playfulness. So, if you'd like to know more about perhaps appreciative inquiry and you're interested in maybe engaging in some of this work, you can go ahead to my website or send me an email, and I'll put both of those pieces of information in the description below. Additionally, there are so many resources about appreciative inquiry that can really help us better learn from the past and apply those lessons into creating the vision that we want for our future. So I would invite you to seeking out and looking for some of those resources if this is really calling to you. Additionally, if you have any leadership topics that you'd like us to cover in this space, please drop them in the comments below. I'd love to see what you are interested in and see how we can tie the tarot into those leadership topics. Thank you for joining us. I'm so glad you came, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.